In Somerset, a farmer walking home at twilight saw a ring of unusually bright mushrooms. When he stepped inside, he heard lively music, and suddenly a ring of fairies came around him, and before he could flee, he was drawn into the dance. He thought he'd been gone an hour or two when he stumbled home, but it turned out he'd been gone for a year, and his farm had even changed hands. So I've come to the New Forest to look for magical circles of mushroom rings, also known as fairy rings. And there are many similar stories to this one. The general consensus is that they are dangerous and you shouldn't step into a fairy ring if you see one, for fear of either displeasing the fairies and bringing upon bad luck, or you might become invisible, or you might be forced to dance until you die of madness or exhaustion, or you'll die at a young age. So the temptation is you might get to see the fairies and hear their music and join in the dancing and the partying, but you then risk being under their enchantment and bad luck coming upon you. It might be possible to be rescued after a year and a day. However, you might just crumble into dust or randomly disappear again at some point in the future. Time is different in fairyland, and whilst you may only think you've been within the fairy ring for a short period of time, hundreds of years could have slipped away in real time. And apparently the shock of that when you come out of the ring can kill you. Lovely. In parts of mid Wales, a fairy ring was thought to be the courtroom of the Tylwyth Teg, and if a human accidentally stepped inside one, they would be put on trial for trespass. While the fairies debated your fate, then years could pass by, even though you may have thought you were only there for a couple of hours. In the story of the Tailor of Oakhampton, a tailor was walking across Dartmoor when he saw a ring of brighter green grass. When he stepped inside the ring, fairy dancers appeared and dragged him into their revels. He was forced to dance until his shoes wore through and his feet bled. And when he was found the next morning outside of the ring, when he was questioned, he suddenly turned into an old man and died. It was said that the fairies stole all of his years away. The Isle of Man is full of fairy folklore, but one tale from Derby says of a ring of fairy horsemen, a troop of tiny little horses with fairies riding on their backs, going in circles until they could go down into fairyland, and that was said to cause the fairy rings. So it wasn't the fairies themselves that were dangerous, but the ground within the ring was considered to be thin, and if you stepped in it at the wrong time, you could fall down into the halls of fairyland and be forced to be a messenger or a servant until the next equinox. Another story about a Northumberland piper has a similar warning. A young piper called Willie Watson followed his dogs into Kielder Forest, where he found them circling a ring of mushrooms. Curious, he stepped within the ring while playing his pipes and vanished, never to be seen again. Locals reported that at night you could hear his music playing while he was being forced to play for the fairies. And a rescue attempt was made, but the music just went further deep underground. A funny one is, it is said that if you run around a fairy ring 9 times, I'm going to have to read this one to get it right. If you run around a fairy ring 9 times on a full moon in the direction of the sun, you may be able to hear the fairies underground. And also people believed if you walked around a fairy ring 3 times at dawn, then any household curses would be lifted. Actually, not all mushroom fairy rings are to do with fairies. In Germany, it is said that they're caused by witches dancing to welcome in spring. A Dutch superstition says that they are found where the devil set down his milk churn. There is even folklore saying the rings are caused by the tail of a fiery dragon whipping his tail round, causing only mushrooms to be able to grow there for 7 years. I think that's a good one. In North Yorkshire, there are some tales that they are caused by hobs. These are little shaggy creatures similar to brownies, and quite possibly where my surname comes from. And they gathered in circles to share the worries of the village. If you stepped into a ring before sunrise, unfortunately, you'd take on all of those worries and troubles that the hobs had been discussing. Things like family disputes, ill livestock and unpaid debts. There are a few rare occasional stories that are positive to do with fairy rings, and they actually can bring you good luck, particularly from Britain and parts of France. Those who enter respectfully may receive music, skill or a small amount of fairy gold. These tales usually hinge on humility, and arrogance leads to punishment instead. So I hope you've enjoyed this different video from me. I really enjoyed doing the research. I love finding out all about these tales. Please bear with me while I get it together a bit snappier and sort of learn how to do something a little bit different. In the past, my videos have all been very vlog based rather than trying to remember things to tell you. So I hope this has been okay. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I will see you again very soon for the next one. Do take care. Bye.